Or this is Michelle Malkin. She's written In Defense of Internment, justifying the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II, and essentially saying that we should institute the same policy towards American Muslims during the War on Terror. And so we're going to get her to sign this picture of Manzanar, the Japanese American concentration camp. Hi, Michelle. Hi, I'm Max Blumenthal from The Nation.
Hello.
Hi, I love your book, In Defense of Internment. I was wondering...
I don't think you did.
Can you make this out to Max?
I'm not going to sign that.
Why, what's the problem?
I'm not going to sign it.
Well, why not?
I'm not signing it.
With this.
Let me tell you something since you are filming this. I am all for honest intellectual debate. I had extensive exchanges with critics of my book. I put up an errata page. I invited the major...
You had to issue errata?
Excuse me. Exactly. I did.
So you made a lot of errors in your book?
I made a lot of errors, and I acknowledged several errors in my book. And I absolutely detest your initiative in trying to smear my work without even reading it. Thank you very much.
That was a good speech, Malkin. Now, I was wondering if you'd learned any lessons journalistically. There she goes. That went really well.
The mood of the crowd at CPAC was subdued, to say the least. In the wake of Republican midterm losses and in the midst of several disastrous military campaigns, the conservative coalition that had ushered in several Republican administrations showed signs of breaking. The conservative movement was in crisis.
The conservative movement is in crisis, and there are certain leaders, like Mitt Romney, who are flipping for political advantage.
So it goes far deeper than simply this administration. The conservative movement really has lost its way in many respects because of its too close association with the Republican Party.
Among the presidential candidates appearing at CPAC, only Tom Tancredo could boast of a solid conservative voting record. Whether Tancredo's brand of conservatism helps his party is another issue.
Conservatives need a leader that believes in enforcing our immigration laws because the first part of illegal immigrant is illegal. Sort of a linguistic and cultural Tower of Babel. I believe it is. Or I guess you could also just ask them whether they think Miami is becoming a third world country.
These reactionary elements threaten to destroy Republican efforts to make inroads in minority communities.
I mean, some of the stuff that I heard today I was shocked to hear Republicans talk about immigrants in such ways because, you know, immigrants are becoming the majority in America. It's kind of hurtful, but you know, I guess we just agreed
that this is a white man's party?
Yeah. Definitely.
The idea that being an immigrant basher was good politics should have been put to rest in '06. And I would argue that if the face of the modern Republican Party is Tancredo, it loses over the next 25 years. And if
one more passage of amnesty or guest worker program, and we are done for politically.
Why?
Because politically it will never be possible again to control it.
What about culturally?
Huh?
Culturally.
Well, obviously there's a cultural problem.
We need to preserve white culture.
White culture? Get the hell out of here with that shit.
Get out of here.
Go.
What about Western civilization?
No, not white culture. You get out of here. You want to get some racist chant for Tancredo? It's bullshit. That's not going to happen.
Why did that make
it's
you
not
angry?
because it's not about race.
Can we see your Confederate flag lapel?
Why's that?
Well, why are you covering it up?
You have a video camera on my face.
What's wrong with the Confederacy? Hey man, you gotta take your stand. Martin Luther King was a Republican.
Even this curiously pale black Republican wanted a place at the table.
As a black Republican, why can't you guys get more black Republicans elected in black districts?
Because almost all legislative districts that are set up in inner cities are safe black Democratic seats.
Perhaps the only thing uniting the conservative movement was its resentment of liberalism and anger at its perceived opponents.
What's wrong with you people? Are you stupid, or do is your hatred for me such that you just disregard everything I say in order to attack me?
What do you think it is?
I think that's what it is. I think that the left is driven by envy, resentment, and a ferocious hatred of anybody on the other side, and that's because it's a religious movement which believes that the world can be redeemed. We can end world poverty, we can end racism, sexism, and homophobia if only those damn conservatives would die. And so every leftist has in his heart is consumed with hate. Here, take a present from me and learn something.
This is a present from David Horowitz, a book about Che Guevara.
This is liberal cultural imperialism. I mean, it's ironic the left is accusing Bush of foreign policy imperialism in Iraq when the left has its own project of cultural imperialism.
Major candidates, including Mitt Romney, appeared at CPAC to flaunt their newfound conservative credentials and to suck up to the right-wing icons milling around in the hallway.
I'm happy to learn also that after you hear me, you're going to hear from Ann Coulter. That is a good thing.
I was going to have a few comments on the other Democratic presidential candidate, John Edwards, but it turns out that you have to go into rehab if you use the word faggot. So.
With the Republican elite clamoring to share the stage with Ann Coulter, I wanted to make sure I had a moment with her as well.
And I appreciate your defense of marriage in your latest book. And as a proponent of the sanctity of marriage, can you explain why you've had 3 broken engagements and never been married?
Well, thank you for respecting my right to privacy.
It's kind of like do as I say, but not as I do.
There's
your
liberal. I'm a good-looking fella, too.
Thank you.
There's your typical
Max
liberal.
Blumenthal from The Nation. Thank you for the compliment.
Hi, Ann. 2 quick questions. One, when are you going to